Hey everyone, this is Virgil Dombrowski with Endeavor Entertainment just outside of Syracuse, New York. Hope all is doing well, everybody's healthy and happy. Typically this time of year, I and my company and my employees and all of us, our team, is running from college to college. April and May is our busiest time of the year. We kind of hang out throughout the wintertime waiting for April and May for all the spring flings and all the fun events. This year, a lot different than normal, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to try and stay as positive as we can, and we're going to try to be back obviously in the fall with y'all. Hopefully we can be back having some fun, bringing you guys the mechanical bulls and the bounce houses and obstacle courses and carnival games and the cotton candy and all the fun stuff we usually bring to campus through your programming board. If you're watching this video and you are not a college student and you just happen upon it on YouTube, you're going to be a little bit lost. But at the same time, you can stay here and learn some really cool stuff as well. But a special kit was made by our company and sent out to specific colleges around the country. Those students were mailed something straight away to their homes, and it is information and the materials to be able to make this mask. We're going to be doing a DIY PPE mask. Okay, this one here I actually made on a sewing machine, but I'm going to show you how to hand stitch. The information I'm giving you is not expert seamstress information. It's kind of the basics to get you started, get you thinking, and say, hey, what else can I do? And this is fun. Stitching is actually a really great pastime. I make a lot of purses and wallets out of leather. That's what you see behind me is all of my leather equipment. Purses, wallets, all kinds of stuff. And stitching is kind of a relaxation. It's kind of a shut your brain off, let your hands do the work, and be able to just relax, listen to music, listen to a podcast. So I'm a energy drinker. I'll crack open an energy drink, and my favorite one is green, and it has like a claw on it. Can't mention any names, but anyway, I'll drink one of those, throw on some music, and just sit and stitch a leather bag together. So we're going to show you how to make this today. I'm going to go through all of the materials that you have in your kit, a couple of things you're going to need as well, and we're going to go through and teach you step by step how to make this. Okay, so hopefully we'll see you all in the fall, and please like my channel. I only have a couple of videos on there right now, but like the channel, subscribe, like the video, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff, because I am now inspired to this video. Doing this video has inspired me to want to do tons of other DIY, crafty, cool videos, and I'm going to be starting to put out a ton more videos. I'm going to find myself talking to myself an awful lot putting these videos together. But information is power, knowledge. Let's pass that knowledge down from one person to the next, and let's do this. So what you should have received in your kit is a piece of fabric. You also should have 4 pieces of 550 paracord, 550 paracord. 2 pieces that are longer than the other 2. You also should have a business card with a needle, so be careful with that. There's a needle taped to the business card. Also some thread wrapped around the business card. You also have a sheet of paper with something that looks like this on it. Okay, you're going to have this on one single piece of paper. What I want you to do is I want you to cut out very carefully around the edges. This is the large, extra large template. I'm a 6'2", 200-pound guy. This fits me perfectly. Okay, I also have a big nose, but this fits me perfect. Okay, the other one you're going to have is going to look like this. It's going to be one piece. What you want to do first is you want to cut out the medium. This is the medium, small to medium template. Okay, this is my wife wears this size, and then my grandchild, my 2.5-year-old grandson, wears this size. So it's going to look like this on your piece of paper. First, you want to cut out this one here, trace it out. Cardboard, an old cereal box, poster board, anything you can use just to trace it out. Okay, something stiff and rigid. This is just poster board. Okay, so cut out this one here. Then you're going to trim right around here. So then you have the outside of this is taken away and you're left with this smaller piece. And then you can make a template out of that as well. Okay, so you should be able to get 3 templates out of there. I did it like this, so only one sheet of paper had to be sent to y'all. and it saved the school some weight in mailing and that kind of good stuff. So, as you can see, if you want to, you can do a size intermediate, but you do have to change one thing, the angle of this arch. It comes down and over. If you change the size, you can see the difference of sizes, okay? The angle of the arch. This size is perfect for an extra large for an adult male, typical adult male, okay? This is typical for an adult female, or a smaller guy. Either way, it doesn't matter. It fits. If you want to go a size between this size and a small, you can't just hold it here and trace in the middle and cut out that. You actually have to move it over here, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line like this and then down, okay? So if you want to get a size between these two sizes, you can. But most of the time, this size, and the extra large or the large is going to be sufficient. So in your kit, you should have received, like I said, the fabric, the paracord. There's two different size paracords. Two pieces are about 16 inches long. The other two are about 21 inches long. And I say about because they're not exactly the same. But you're going to be able to cut these down to fit your size anyway. They're actually longer than they really need to be. And also you're going to have the needle and the thread. Okay, a couple other things you're going to want to think about having and getting. You have to provide your own pair of scissors. All right. You have to provide your own pencil or your marking tool, because once you put this template on there, you need something to trace it out onto your material, okay? Or if you have a regular pencil, this is one of those wax fabric pencils. If you have a regular graphite pencil, you can use that. It actually will show up on the black as well. You need some tape or pins, and that is to put your pieces together. Once you sandwich your pieces together, you need to hold them together while you stitch them. You can either tape it, you can use pins, you can use a little bit of Elmer's glue in there, but if you wash these, which you can wash them, if you sew them good enough and you are able to wash them, I wouldn't use any glue inside there. Okay, double back sticky tape. I wouldn't really use any of that stuff. Just regular tape you can peel off at the end, or the best way is to use these little pins. You're going to need a lighter if you want to adjust the length of your paracord. Okay, because what you do is well, I'll get into that later. And also, if you have any of these, I could not get my fingers on enough of these for everybody, but if you have these on an old suitcase, on an old backpack, on the bottom of an old jacket, this is great to put around the top of your head. Now, when I first made mine, I just tied a bow tie around the top of my head. I tied it into a knot and tied it like a shoestring bow tie kind of thing. Like that around the back of my neck. I do with this still. And then the top, I added this little clip. Okay, so if you have any of these little clips, you can use those. They're not essential to make this mask work. For the first week and a half, I just tied it around the top of my head and was going through a bunch of old stuff in my garage and happened upon a jacket that I was going to toss and pulled this off the bottom of the jacket. So those are around if you need those randomly. You should not need any more thread, but if you do make mistakes and you have to cut the thread and unstitch it, you know, rip the seam and redo it, then you're going to need to get some more thread. I'm going to use white thread as a demonstration, but you did get some black thread in your kit. So that is it. This material opens up, and it is big enough to be able to make the adult extra large size and still have plenty ample space. If you see any white lines on your material, that is because I kind of just did a quick mark when I was cutting them all up. And then some of them I know in shipping are going to get wrinkled, and also some of my bolts material had some wrinkles in it. So when you first get it, open it up, iron it out. If you do not have an iron, here is a trick. You can wet it a little bit, put it up against your mirror, like literally stick it to your mirror, use a hair dryer gently, and dry it, and it should peel literally right off your mirror, perfectly pressed and ironed. That was a trick when I used to be a magician before I started my entertainment company. A lot of my silks, when I used to do the bird magic and everything, the silks would get wrinkly, and when I was traveling around the country performing, I didn't carry an iron. Some hotels didn't have them, so I would wet them, stick them on the mirror, use the hair dryer, and it would literally peel off the mirror perfectly fine and wrinkle free. So that is that. All right, so here we are. We have our fabric laid out in front of us. Okay, if you needed to press it, you pressed it. Got all the wrinkles out. We're going to make a. What size? We'll do the medium size mask. Okay, medium size mask. If you have a pencil, you can use your pencil. You trace right around, and you can see that you can see just a little bit. You can see the mark in there just enough to where it's able to be cut. But make it easier for me to be able to see, I'm going to use this pencil right here. It's just a fabric pencil. I do use it for leather all the time when I'm making purses and bags. So you're going to trace around your fabric. Okay, it's 2 layers thick right there, so remember that. It's 2 layers thick. You can do this 4 times, you can do this twice. Okay? It's up to you, but you're going to double up your material if you want to do it twice. I will double up my material and just trace out my pattern, go all the way around your pattern, making sure not to let your material kink up. You don't want your material to kink up, otherwise you'll cut through it wrong. Alright, so that is that. I'm going to use my scissors and cut through. Alright, so we're going to just cut out our pattern now. Just cut right on the line. Okay? I'm cutting 2 layers at once. Just take your time. Just hold the pieces together and cut. Do not worry about being exactly right with these cuts, okay? What you're seeing right now, the edges that you're seeing right now are actually going to be on the inside of your mask. So it's not going to make a difference, okay? If you do cut, you don't want to cut on the outside of the line. You want to make sure you cut on the inside of the line. I apologize if I was just out of view there. Okay. You want to cut on the inside of the line, if anything, because as you're cutting, you don't want to have that be bigger. Your mask will actually get bigger if you cut on the outside of the line. Okay, so just going to trim it up a little bit there. Okay, so there's 2 pieces. Like I said, they do not have to be exact. Obviously, you want it to be as good as possible, but okay, right here. Now if your pieces start to move on you as you're cutting, pin them. Or cut one out at a time. You do not have to do 2 layers at a time. Or you can pin both layers together. Alright, so the cool thing about this is once you have the patterns, you can legit make this out of an old sweater, an old t-shirt, pillowcase, anything. You want the fabric to be a little bit rigid though. You don't want it to be too loose. We have our needle and thread. I'm going to be using a piece of white thread so that way you can see what I'm doing better instead of black on black. I am going to be using probably about, let's say, 36 inches or so of thread. This might be a little bit too much, but thread is not very expensive, and most people have a spool of thread somewhere. And when it comes down to it, the color doesn't really matter. These aren't really meant to be pretty. They're meant to work. So you're going to thread the needle on there. All I do is wrap it around once, tie a knot, wrap it around twice, tie a knot, and I'm good. Okay? This excess here, you can just snip that off, a little bit off. So, on the end of the thread, little trick that I do is you tie a knot one time, you loop it through, and then literally keep looping it through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. What that does is it creates a bigger knot for you, And that we don't have to continue tying knot after knot after knot. You actually are tying it right now. And then when you pull all this down, it ties one bigger knot for you. So there's like 7 knots right there. Okay. If you want to do it again to get a bigger knot, you just keep pulling it through, keep looping it around, keep basically tying knots without actually pulling them tight, and you can then make a much bigger knot right on top of that other knot. Okay? See how that works? So, what we're going to do is we're going to use our pencil and just mark down. I know it's kind of hard to see. You can see it though, it is there. I'm going to use this white pencil to mark my stitch line. Just give me an idea, rough idea, make it look semi-pretty inside. Not pretty, but give you an idea where you want. You want about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay? To start out, we're going to start out up here on the top. We're going to stitch both pieces together. And then we're going to pull this through. Okay. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie this around the needle a few times. And what that's going to do is it's going to help me create, I'm sorry, not yet. The second stitch. I'm going to tie it around. I was getting ahead of myself. You know, when you instruct or you're showing people how to do stuff and you're outside of your normal way of doing things, you get sidetracked a little bit. So stick the needle through once. Then on your second time, you're going to tie it, loop it around the needle 2-3 times. And what that does is it actually helps create the first knot for you. It kind of knots it up there. Okay? That's it. From here on out, I'm going to do the same exact thing. Okay? I'm going to keep my thread off to the left. I'm going to hold the thread with my 2 fingers, my middle finger, my index finger. I'm going to hold the material with my other 3 fingers and my thumb, my 2 fingers and my thumb, and I'm going to put it through on my stitch line about 1/8 of an inch. Okay? And then I'm going to pull up and out. And as I pull up and out, you can see that I'm still holding onto the thread. I'm still guiding the thread to kind of go straight, because I want my stitch to be straight. So I'm going to hold that thread out of the way, go straight through both pieces, pull my material, pull my thread, and I want that thread to go straight down. And there I am. Okay, push it through, pull it up and out. Sometimes what will happen if you don't hold the thread is sometimes the thread will be way over here, and when you pull it tight, you're going to pull it tight at an angle like that. Okay? If it happens, no big deal. You just want to use your needle to pick it up, move it over, and pull straight. Okay? So I hold it out of the way. Just makes it a little bit easier for me. Now this stitch line, where you're putting the thread in every time, that's going to make a big difference on how your mask looks on the outside. You're not going to be able to see the thread because you're using black thread with black material, but I'm using white. And what I did is on this one here, a couple of times, I did this one already. A couple of times I went inside too far. So when you flip this thing inside out, you actually can see some of the threading. If you don't pull the thread tight enough as you're going, you'll see some of the threading, which weakens the structure of your mask. You can see up here at the beginning, the thread's pretty darn tight up there, and it's nice up there. But as I get down here, I didn't pull it as tight. The other thing too is if your stitch line isn't straight, you're going to get some of these bumps in there. Okay. The first one you do, you can use as the inside of your mask. So whatever, it's going to actually be like this anyway on the inside. That'll be the inside of your mask. So you're really not going to see it at all. So use your first side as a practice side, and then you get better. And you know, to really get good, you're going to want to make 4, 5, 6, 10 of these things. Give them to your friends, give them to your family, sell them to people. All right, guys, here we are at the very end. I've gone ahead and done both of them. And We're at the very end here, so the last couple stitches that you want to do, you want to get down to the very end, and then when you get to the very, very end on the last stitch, what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing you've been doing, keeping your thread pulled back, pulling up, except this time what I'm going to do at the very end, kind of give it extra knots, because you kind of can notice that you're doing a kind of a knot, almost a half knot all the way down every single stitch. I'm going to take the thread and just literally wrap it around my needle 2-3 times, and then pull up and out. Obviously it does get a little bit harder when you're doing that, and it creates a knot at the very end for you. Okay, so if you want to go back and you want to do it again, you just pull it up, you wrap the thread around the needle a few times, pull it up and out, and it creates that knot right there and knots off the end for you. So then you are completely knotted off and done. Okay, you can take these pins out now. If you use the pins, I called them needles earlier, they're not needles, they're pins. And then you're going to see how well you did. Now again, I'm using white thread so you can see everything. And there you go. Okay, so now I have 2 of those. We're going to go on to the next step right now. Alright, so here we are with the next step. We are done stitching down both sides. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to take one side and you're going to flip it right side out. Okay, and then you're going to take that and you're going to stick it inside the other one. So now what you have is a sandwich of the 2 pieces that were used to be 4, now 2, and you're here. So you're looking at the ugly side, the ugly side. Both the good finished sides are actually going to be inside right now. They're both inside. Eventually we're going to flip this inside out. But for now we're going to leave it just like this. Okay, so line up your seams here and here. Okay, again, if you have tape or you're using pins, you're going to want to pin your pieces together. Line up both your seams there. Okay. Pin it in place or tape it in place. Let's get a couple more pins here. Once these are all pinned in place or taped in place, what I like to do is just flip this over and do the bottom as well, and you're just going to line it all up. And if you kept your same seam allowance the entire time, it should fit right in there pretty well. See how snug it fits right in there? Right there. Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to pin these seams in place. That should not be going anywhere now on that side, anywhere on this side, and we're just going to get to the ends and line those up and pin those in place as well. Okay, so we're just going to pin the ends in place and the ends in place over here together. So the next step that we're going to do should take probably 20 minutes or so of sewing. As you can see here, this looks like it doesn't line up, but by the time you flatten that out and pull it a little bit, those will line up pretty darn good with each other. Okay, I'm just going to pull it and stick it together. Now if you're using tape, that's good, because you can actually get it and keep it in place, but just keep in mind, as you're stitching, you have to make sure that things are still lining up properly. Okay, now the next step what we're going to do is we're here, we have our mask, it's inside out. What we're going to do now is we're going to start on either part you want. You can start up here and go down around the nose piece and stitch that all together, or you can start down by the chin area and stitch this whole part here. The part that you're going to leave undone are the 2 ends where your ears are, that will come up to your ears. So here's the mask, comes up to your face like this, You're going to leave the right hand side and left hand side. Do not sew these together yet. Okay? You're going to sew across the top where your nose is, the bridge of your nose, and you're going to sew across the bottom where your chin is. Okay? Once you get those sewn, we'll move on to the next step. So go ahead and pause the video now and take your time and stitch all along there, keeping the same exact seam allowance, keeping that same 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down and down from top to bottom. And then you're going to start again with a new piece of thread from here to here. For this piece here, you can see that I had hardly, for the other piece, I had hardly any thread left. I used 36 inches to go from here down to there. So this is, let's see what this is, 9 inches here. I would use at least probably 40 inches, 45 inches worth of thread. Okay, so about 4 feet. Use about 4 feet-ish. You should have plenty of thread. Okay. Now the thing is, if you get to the point where you get to here and you ran out of thread, just loop it around the needle like I showed you, pull it tight, and then just start brand new. Just backtrack a little bit. That way you're kind of double stitching that where the thread ended. So if you cut too short of a piece, you're fine. Just grab another piece, start there, go. Okay? So go ahead and do that. Go do the top, do the bottom, and then once I do all that, I'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do here, because this is where we're going to be adding in the paracord for your tie straps for around your neck and around your head. Okay? All right, guys, here we are. We have finished. We stitched all along this edge here. We stitched all along this edge here. Now it is time to clean up everything just a little bit, because some of the material might have frayed. You have some of the end pieces of your thread that are a little bit long, and anything you leave right now is going to actually be inside your mask. So clean it up a little bit, clean up the edges, clean up the extra thread, make it look pretty, although you will never see any of this inside, okay? I have a 24-inch piece of thread ready to go. The end is knotted, and it is knotted around the needle, as we did at the very beginning, like you've done a few times already. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to invert this. Okay, so we're going to take the outside in, the inside out, and we're going to flip it inside out. Okay, now is when the scary part is, you can see how well you stitched, right? How tight your stitches were, how well you stitched. And I can tell right now that some of my stitches are pretty loose. Look at those, pretty loose. No big deal. This is one of how many you can make. Okay, you do not have to absolutely be perfect. You're learning. This is the awesome part about it. So what I would do right now is, I'm not going to, but what I would do right now, if you have an iron, is I would go iron these seams. So iron the seam. If you don't have an iron, you can actually get a little bit of water on your fingertips, run it down the edge, use some kind of, this is called a bone tool. This is a leather tool, some kind of hard edge, the side of a pencil, whatever you want to use, you can use to just flatten that out, okay? Right along the seams. And just flatten that out right along the seam. Okay, do the other side. There we are. Sorry for shaking the camera, I'm moving all over the place. And as you can see, I have more purple on my fingernails. I finished up the rainwater system today. It was beautiful out, so I got out there and did that for a little while. And we're just going to flatten that out. Okay, so here we are. We've pushed the inside out. There we are with our mask. Everything is pushed down. That's it. So what we're going to do next is we're actually going to take the longer pieces of paracord. There's 2 longer pieces of paracord. Those are the pieces that go up and around the top of your head. That's why they're a little bit longer. Okay? And all you're going to do here is you're going to take the open area now, and you're going to fold it in just a little bit. And I'm talking maybe like a 1/2 inch. Okay? About a 1/2 inch in. So you're just going to fold that part in. Okay? Now, I folded in. I have beautiful edges there. I'm going to take my tool, my pencil, end of my butter knife, whatever you have, if you have an iron, and just flatten that out. Okay, there it is. The other side will do the same exact thing over here. We're just going to pinch the seam push it in, pinch the other seam, push it in, fold those pieces down inside there so they're pretty straight. Okay, flatten it. Again, if you have an iron, you would iron that part. I do have an iron, but I'm going to just pretend I don't and just push on it. Again, if you got a little bit of water on the edge and pushed on it and held it, it would stay as well, a little bit better. So now we have our mask. One side's folded slightly in more than the other. No big deal. You just pull that little bit out. Typically I'll do one side then the other actually, so just trying to get ahead of myself here a little bit. And I shouldn't. There we are. Okay. Now there we are. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take the longer paracord, the longer piece of paracord. There's 4 pieces total, 2 long, 2 short, and just make a knot in the end. Okay, pretty close to the end. All right. Then we're going to shove this up inside there, right on the top part where our nose piece is. So this will fit over your face like this. This is the top of the nose piece. Okay. You want your knot to be in just a little tiny bit, so your knot is totally in there, probably a good 3/4 of an inch. Okay. All I'm going to start doing here is we're going to start stitching this closed. Okay. A couple different ways you can do this. I'm going to do it the same exact way as I did all the other ones, all the other stitches. And we're just going to wrap it around, wrap it around, wrap it around, wrap it around. I'll show you another way to do it. You can do it that way, or you can do it this way, which actually I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to do it a little bit different way. I'm going to start on the inside of this thing. Okay? You start a little bit on the inside. You're keeping your same 1/4 inch seam allowance. You're going to start on the inside and pull your thread all the way through. Now what that does is it takes the end of that thread and it tucks it down inside there so you can't see it. Okay? Then, it's going to be a lot of flip-flopping. You're going to hold your paracord where it is, and you're going to go through the other side, but this time through the entire layers, all 4 layers, because you have doubled here and doubled here. You're going to push through. Okay? Then pull it. And then you're going to push through the paracord. You're going to cut, not cut, you're going to stitch right through the paracord. Okay? Right through there. Then we're going to flip it. Then we're going to go a little bit down. We're going to stitch through the paracord again and pull it. And then a 3rd time right through. Now these needles are small enough, thin enough, where you should be able to pierce that paracord no problem. And what you're doing is you're actually stitching the paracord in place. So the paracord is not going to move. The knot is right here, right underneath my thumb, and that knot should not move now. And we're just going to keep stitching from side to side, side to side, keeping that 1/4 inch seam allowance. So it's a little bit different of a stitch. I said I was going to do the old stitch, but it's actually not as strong and durable. If anything were to wear and tear on the sides here, it could rip the thread. This is actually a much more durable stitch for this part of your mask. So as you go, if you do have pins, just pin these in place so they're not going to move on you. Again, if you don't have pins, you can use tape. Just tape that all closed and just peel the tape back as you stitch. And you're going to literally just flip-flop this, keeping that 1/8 of an inch space, keeping that between stitches 1/8 of an inch, and keeping that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay? And you're just going to go back and forth, back and forth. And like I said at the very beginning of this, I am no seamstress. I can make it work and I can get by. But I'm sure there'll be a million people leaving a million comments about what I'm doing wrong. But here's the thing, I'm doing it and it's working, and it works fine for me. And actually my masks I make on a sewing machine, so this hand stitching is only for me to show you guys how to do it. I don't really ever hand stitch material. I do hand stitch all my leather products. All my leather stuff is hand stitched. But as far as stitching material, I do not stitch material by hand. I use my machine. So this is what you're going to do. When you get down to the bottom here, you're going to take your small piece of paracord. You're going to do the same exact thing, tie it into a knot. Okay? Keep stitching all the way down. Put the small piece of paracord in there. Get your knot right about here. Okay? Stitch all the way down to the end. Tie it off into a knot. Pull tight. And that'll be good. I'll show you how I do that when I get to the end. Okay? But keep going all the way down. And when you get to here, half an inch so, stop, and I'll show you the next step. So again, you're just going to continue going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like you have been doing. Okay. I'm going to pierce that piece of paracord at least twice, if not 3 times, to keep that in place. Okay, so these stitches are going to be really close together. Keeping that paracord right there. Okay, when we get to the end, what I want you to do, to tie it off at the very end, what we're going to do is we're going to take the needle and thread, we're going to push it through, but only through the middle. So we're not going to come out the other side like that. We're actually going to come out through the middle. Okay? So here you are. Let's get your paracord out of the way. We're going to push it through the middle. Okay? Now keep this piece of thread, it's going to want to twist on you. That's the way how it usually does. But I keep it off to the side. Pull it through, then go right back in through the middle. Obviously in a different hole. You're not going to hit the same exact hole, but pretty darn close to where you were. Okay? Then take this thread that's on the bottom, and either side it doesn't matter, but any thread that's on the bottom, and you want literally just wrap it around 2-3 times. Okay? And as you pull this, you will see it tie a knot up onto itself. See the knot? Now if you want to do it again, to do a double knot, you just stick it through the middle, pull it up, stick it back through there again, wrap the thread around there 2-3 times, pull it, and it will tie another knot onto itself. Okay? Take your scissors, snip that off. You are now done. Congratulations, you have made your own PPE equipment. Now, like I said, I usually do this on a sewing machine, so my hand stitching is not perfect. I said at the very beginning that I'm not perfect at this, but you have black thread and you have black material. So as I did this along the way, you can see that it's not exactly perfect. Here's the thing. Take a little bit more time, you can get it exactly perfect. Or you can make it functional and great and be able to have a product and be able to move on to the next one. Perfection is in the eye of the beholder, and ultimate perfection really is unattainable. I think we want to search for excellence. And to me, hand stitching, learning how to do that by myself, taking a piece of fabric, a needle and some thread and some scissors and paracord, and I just made something that can protect me, my family, my loved ones, my neighbors, my co-workers. It's a skill that we all should have. So congratulations to you guys. I would like to thank your programming board once again for
inviting Endeavor Entertainment into your homes, not even on campus, but literally into your homes this time, and helping you guys along the way. We are here for you when school opens back up again, and awesome. We are going to be ready to rock and roll. So now this is it. This is functioning. This is your PPE. This is your mask. You made it. Two other things you can do to this. Before I mention these little pieces here, if you have these little pieces here, you can go ahead and put these pieces on. You put both of the ends through on the head, on the top of the head part, and then you can adjust that. If you have any of these extra spare, like I said at the very beginning, I couldn't get my hands on enough of these for y'all fast enough. But if you have one on the end of a jacket or an old backpack or whatnot, you can do it. If you don't want to do that, and these are too long, what you can do is you can actually cut these. Now this is the part that you got to be really crazy careful with, but if you cut these, the paracord, you can actually look inside and you can see that paracord has all these other little strings inside there. There's like seven other strings inside there, all made of nylon. Okay? What you can do is you can cut the paracord anywhere you like and then use a lighter and you can actually singe it again so it won't come undone. And you can singe that. Now, this is crazy hot and will literally melt right to your skin. So you definitely don't want to play games with that thing. Okay? Doesn't smell too good either. So definitely don't breathe that. But in a couple seconds that will be completely dry and you will be able to cut and trim yours accordingly to the size of your head, to the size of tying a bow tie, and that is it. And now that will never fray again on you. Okay? All right, guys, congratulations. I'm going to put my number up on there. If you have any questions, concerns, I'll do my best to read comments. Those experts that are out there, if you want to make comments, feel free. I said at the very beginning, I am not an expert. This is something to get students thinking. This is something to protect people and see what they can do and build upon their skills from here on out. So, like my channel, like the video. I'm actually going to be changing the channel name to something a little bit more than just leather work. Doing all kinds of stuff. So, anyway, congratulations to you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy. Well, hopefully we will see you in the fall. And give me a thumbs up. Thanks, guys.